ASML stock is just near 52-week lows. We can see the 52-week low is 648. It is currently at 665. You can also see the 52-week high is at 1,110, right? So I'm not going to justify today why I believe it should be 1,110. I'm not going to try and do that. However, I do think at the current share price of 665, this is a really good opportunity to buy if it's a company you're interested in, right? Let's get a little bit of a fuller picture. Over the last 5 years, it's up 142%. Of current today, you can imagine it was up much, much more when it was double this price, right? But still 141 is a good performance. The S&P 500 is only up about 90% in that time frame. The chart is not loading for some reason, but here we go. Since 2014, late 2014, early 2015, it was at about 100. We're at 665. So it's done very, very, very well. S&P 500 is only up about 240%. So this is outperforming the average stock dramatically. You can even imagine how much more so when it was back at over 1,000, right? So we can see the PE, right, is still 36, which is relatively high. However, I think there's two main reasons for that. The first being it has performed incredibly well. A stock that has done, doubled the S&P 500 performance. It shouldn't be too surprising when it is valued above the S&P 500. That shouldn't really shock anyone. And it doesn't really shock me, right? That is expected. Usually when they're under, the S&P 500 have done very well outperforming it. You kind of question why that is. The other reason is ASML is just so valuable in what they provide, right? They do all the lithography machines, the ultraviolet machines that TSM uses to provide NVIDIA with what they do to make all those AI chips. So all the high tech 3 nanometer, eventually 2 nanometer, 5 nanometer, all that stuff, the only way you can make those is through ASML machines. I believe they do around 90% of that sort of stuff. The only reason they aren't targeted as a monopoly is no one else in the world can do what they do near the quality, and they are just so important. And that's primarily the reason why I hold ASML. I am an ASML holder. I'm fairly recent. So, but we're not going to dive too much into that, right? That's not super important, but I do have my own stake in this. But that main explanation I just gave is why I believe ASML long-term is a good hold. But around these prices, I believe it is better. Of course, not investment advice. You guys make your own decisions. Don't sue me. But its forward P is 31.8, right? So the S&P 500 PE is about 27, forward P of 23. So this has about a 33%-ish, premium to the S&P 500. However, like I said, a company that has done as well as they have, I mean, it is fairly high PE, but not crazy, right? If you're 33% more than the S&P 500 and you have gone up, 500, 600%, while the S&P 500 has only gone up like 240, that indicates, that's nothing super crazy, right? And there was many times when the PE was much more extremely valuated, right? We can see back in, what was this? The middle of the year, it was at 52 and 46. Earlier, 43, 45. And it was relatively around this amounts in middle 2023, late 2023, right? So it's not like a crazy valuation for it. Actually, it's decently cheap compared to where it's been. Maybe not as much as those lows back in 2023, right? But at the end of the day, it really comes down to if you want to hold a company that has basically a monopoly on some of the most important product in the world, which is, it owns a monopoly on the thing that was required for the thing that NVIDIA uses to make the AI chips. That's the most simple way I can explain it, right? And that's personally why I hold ASML. That's the main reason. Now, they aren't guiding for an incredible year next year. However, if you actually read the earnings, it's not bad. They're guiding for growth. I think it's around 7 to 12%. And also they acknowledge that they aren't selling to China anymore. So that's why it's not crazy. But also a lot of semiconductor industry outside of the AI chips is really not doing good. You can see that in STM. You can see that in some of Qualcomm's earnings, some of AMAT's earnings. You can see that in AMD with their embedded in their gaming doing very, very poor. So the fact that they're actually projecting decent growth for next year, I'm bullish on that in the long term because I think that I think AI is going to keep growing, and then when that other stuff catches up, it's just going to they're going to have a good year. But that's just my prediction. So Schwab thinks they're a 70 percentile rate, and they think it's going to not perform super over like a year or something. And don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily think the stock is just going to shoot up, but I do think as a long-term hold, this is not a bad area. This is probably one of the better entries you'll get, except for when all the market's hitting lows, right? Like in 2022, but that wasn't necessarily an optimistic time for any of the companies in this market. So unless you want to jump in when everyone's panicking, which most people just don't do that, this is a good entry for ASML. I believe that personally. Of course, do your own investment, do your own research, of course, right? But yeah, that's all I really got. I mean, we can dive into earnings growth and all that sort of thing, but you can do most of that on your own. I'm just mostly going to dive into the cheap side of it. Like I said, I just think this is a good entry point for where ASML is, right? Because who knows when we're going to get, but maybe it'll be around these levels for a long time, and that'd be good too, because probably have enough time to load up more or whatever. I like ASML. I like it around these prices currently, and I bought a share around these prices as well. You can see analysts do like it, 29 to 39, say it is a buy or a strong buy. No one is saying underperform, but usually out of the analysts, you don't get anything crazy, right? So I feel like I've said everything I need to. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you liked or subscribed, especially when people have been subscribing lately. I've noticed YouTube recommending my content a lot more. YouTube's like, oh wait, people like this guy, they're subscribing, and then YouTube pushes it out a lot. So if you enjoyed the video and want to see similar stock content, I do daily stock content on this channel. I appreciate it if you subscribe. Even if you just enjoyed the video, leaving a like and then moving on, that'd still be cool. Anyways, I hope all you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.